Understeering, definitely one of the most annoying problems on track, but what we see a lot of drivers doing wrong is actually turning in more. Why is that an issue? Well, when you're understeering, you're skidding over the front wheels, right? You turn in, but actually nothing happens. So intuitively, what you might end up doing is actually turning in more. In this video, we're going to be talking about why that's actually not just not helping you, but actually making things worse, by looking at some physics principles and then showing you some live action on track.
Let's look at this in action. So coming into turn 3 here at Barcelona, and you can see we're starting to understeer a bit, and then by turning in more, just making things worse and actually going wide into the barrier. In order to understand why you're understeering in the first place and why turning in more is worse for you, we need to understand one fundamental vehicle dynamics concept, and that is about something called the slip angle of a tire. Whenever we go into a corner, we ask the tires to point into a certain direction, right? So if we look at the video here, we're turning in, and what the slip angle is about really is the difference between where the tires are pointing and where the car actually wants to go. So as you can see in this case, right, we have a 20-degree slip angle, which is quite a lot, which basically means the car wants to travel in a straight line, whereas the tires are pointing inwards, and that is actually the physics representation of what we call understeering. What happens in this case? We're asking too much of the tire, and we actually run wide because of that understeering. A really important point to note though is that having a bit of slip angle on your tires is actually a good thing for you. So let's look at this graph to really understand why that is. We have on the x-axis the slip angle of a tire, and on the y-axis we have the lateral force going through that tire. And as you can see, as we go from no slip angle at all to just a few degrees, we can actually put more forces through the tire, which is good, right? We are basically increasing the tire's grip limit. However, that only works to a certain extent. So yes, we do want a tiny bit of slip angle, right? And this is what you see race drivers do on track. They're really pushing it just to that point. However, at some point you hit a peak of that graph, and beyond that, turning in more, i.e. giving the car more slip angle, is actually worse. You can see the grip level decreasing, and that's exactly why turning in more when you're understeering is so bad. You're actually robbing the tire of even more grip than you already did before.
Something that's especially problematic with making that mistake is its effect on tire temperatures. So by scrubbing the tires, you're getting more heat into them. By doing that, at some point you reach the tire's peak temperature at which its grip level is actually even lower. So by doing that, you get into a vicious cycle of more temperature, less grip, which again causes you to understeer more, which then heats up the tires. You can see how that's building up a dangerous cycle where you mess up one corner after another.
To illustrate the point, in the example that we just showed you, the tire temperature actually increased by more than 5 degrees just by messing up that one corner. So you can really see how doing that over and over again gets you into that vicious cycle that we mentioned.
So there you go, a very simple conclusion. If you're mid-corner and you're understeering, please don't turn in more. What you actually should do, we're going to cover in a different video, but most importantly, don't start turning in more. You're just robbing the tires of even more grip and thereby killing your speed.